So I'll have to figure it out later. But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining this live. Today I wanted to talk about some career topics, and I mainly wanted to do this video because I have been getting a lot of emails. Like emails, I've been getting messages on Instagram, I've gotten messages on Snapchat, like basically any way that people can find me, I've been getting messages, and I figured this might be a really good way to start doing these videos more regularly where we can just talk here and you guys can ask your questions, because I feel like a lot of the questions I get apply to multiple people. Like it isn't just something that I think one person is thinking about. So I'm going to start trying to schedule these lives a little more often, and I'll let you guys know in advance, but my goal is to do this at least every other week, and if I can do it every week, I will. So stay tuned to the timeline, you know, where you can put those messages up on the timeline. I'll try to put a message up there or schedule it so you see that little like scheduled thing on the timeline so you have a heads up. But anyways, I was actually trying to do my makeup, so I'm not done. I didn't finish my lashes and all that good stuff, but we'll do that later. But hi, thank you so much. Yeah, so today we're going to talk a little bit about, like I said, some career stuff, and I was actually about to turn on a light behind me. Okay, there we go. But we're going to talk about some career stuff. A couple topics I already had, which these actually came on email, and I figured I'd answer those here, and then I can direct the people who asked me on email to this video. And then if you guys have other questions, we can talk about your questions as well. So first, I got a question around changing industries and how to prepare for a job if you're changing from one job to another industry or another job that's a little bit different, or even if you're trying to apply for something that's not what you've been doing and you just want to like make sure you prep your resume the right way and you're like super prepared for that application and even the interview if you're able to get that interview. So I'm gonna hopefully help you guys with that and just share with you like everything they taught me when I was getting my MBA at Michigan State. And then I'm hoping this will be really helpful for you, whether it be right now or maybe it's just something you like put in your back pocket and when the time comes you can use it for yourself. So with that being said, one disclaimer, I'm not here on YouTube trying to pretend like I know everything. So if you have suggestions, definitely write them in the chat section, or later on if you watch this video on replay, put it in the comment section for people as well, so that way they can get some, you know, insight from other perspectives. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the topic. I think the best way to set this up is to give you an example. So if you have a current job, so let's just talk about me. I'm in project management, and let's just say I decided to apply for a job in marketing. And I wanted to apply for this job in marketing, and I want to make sure that when I put that application in and I go for that interview, that I'm prepared for the interview and the application as best I can be, because obviously I want to get the job. So I'm just going to tell you guys, I guess like maybe 3 tips as to how I would prepare my resume for that job, and then feel free to chime in the comment section as we go through it. So the first thing I would do if I was in this situation is I'm literally going to print my resume, print the job description, and put them side by side. And the reason why I'm going to do this is because I want to look at the job description and understand what gaps exist between my current resume and the job description that I want to apply for. And you want to kind of understand like what are the things that they're looking for that you don't currently have on your resume. So let's just say for a marketing job, I know typically marketing jobs for the level I would want are going to say they want so many years of experience in marketing. And for me, I went back to school, I got my MBA in marketing, but I actually haven't spent a ton of time in marketing because I've done a lot of other things. So I'm going to need to bridge that gap and be able to explain away why I'm qualified for that role. So I will have to, on my resume, start to do some things and build out some verbiage to be able to explain why I qualify for that marketing job, even though my resume right now looks very project management focused. And you have to kind of just think about that. You're going to want to use keywords, but you really want to make sure your resume is speaking to the exact verbiage on the job description. And this is also important because a lot of times when people or companies are looking for people and you put that application in there, thanks Jackie, you put that application in they're going to be a lot of times running a computer over your resume to pull keywords and look for a match. And if you don't have the right verbiage on your resume when you're applying for that position, they may not match you just based on the fact that your resume looks like a miss. It looks like it's got big gaps. So make sure you're tailoring your keywords to match and that you've kind of got the same type of jargon on your resume as you would on the job description. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I would do if I was in this position is I'm for sure going to write a cover letter, because a cover letter is kind of like your opportunity to sell yourself before you get the interview. So it's kind of like the way that you can explain the resume, because the resume is more like bottom line, like I did this job, these are the dates, you know, I have this degree, I went to this school, this is my name. It's kind of like the stuff that, like, you know, is more matter of fact. So the cover letter is going to be your opportunity to like explain, okay, let me just give you some information on my background. Let me sell you on the why. Let me ask for an opportunity to interview. Let me tell you, you know, just anything you want to spike out. That's your opportunity on the cover letter. So that's like the second thing that I would for sure do, is have my cover letter ready to go, so that you can then start to, you know, get some more dialogue going on that job description. And then I think the third thing that I think I for sure would want to do if I had a resume where there were more gaps than you know, the application or the job description that I'm looking at, and I don't know, how would I want to like tee this one up? I think the biggest thing, hey guys, can you turn that down please? Thank you. Sorry. But the one thing I would for sure want to do is like make sure, you know, anything I have on my resume is definitely applicable to the job that I'm going to be posting for. Because sometimes we have stuff on there that just really isn't the best, you know, background. Put that down. Sorry, y'all. My kids are watching a movie, but they in here doing stuff they're not supposed to. But if there's anything that just really doesn't fit for that job, like it may even be worth, you know, removing it or finessing it. You could even add like a line that just kind of explains the role, almost like a lead-in line for that job, so that people can understand a little bit more about why it's, you know, a good fit for the position that you're applying for. So that's like resume. Okay, that's your resume. But I actually spoke to a girl a couple days ago who was going for an interview yesterday, and I have to remember to reach out to her and see how that went. But she was going into an interview yesterday, and in the interview, she, you know, was acknowledging the fact that there were some areas that she felt like maybe a potential gap. And one thing I told her is that if you know going in there's going to be areas that are gaps, make sure you're preparing to be able to speak to that and like running through the things that you think people may say as a pushback. Like almost think about anything negative somebody could say about you and be prepared to be able to answer to that, to speak to that, so that, you know, you're prepared, you're comfortable, and you're able to like really quickly, you know, spit off why you're fit regardless of that particular thing. I got dogs in the background having asthma attacks. It's a lot going on over here. But just prepare, practice, you know, because you want to be like fluent. You want to be ready to go and be able to explain away anything that someone may say and could feel like is a gap for you. And I know for me, when I was first trying to get into pharmaceutical sales, I didn't have really any healthcare experience. And I was, hey, Michelle, how you doing, girl? But yeah, I really didn't have any healthcare experience, and I was trying to get into pharmaceutical sales, and I knew that was important because all the job descriptions say that. So for me, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to express how passionate I am about, you know, healthcare and about making an influence in healthcare on people's everyday lives. And that was like where I really just stuck to. And for me, that paid off, and it was able to just, you know, kind of like cover up the area where I had the gap of healthcare experience, because I didn't have any healthcare experience when I came in. So I just sold that I was passionate about it based on people in my family who had certain disease states that were similar to the products that I was going to be selling, and just how passionate I was about that particular area. And it worked out really nicely for me. So just like always think about, you know, the gaps that you have. Be prepared to answer those. Be prepared to just kind of like help push them under the rug. And then you can always ask people. And one thing I also was mentioning to the young lady I spoke to is when you get done with your interview, and this is something I learned in sales, but I feel like it's transferable anywhere, is to ask the question. You can ask a soft close question, which basically is around the lines of trying to understand if there's anything else they need to know, or if there's any reason why they wouldn't feel comfortable moving forward with you as a candidate, because that's pretty much the opportunity for people to express to you what's in the back of their head, the concerns that they have, and it just kind of like helps you out to take anything that's on the table or any elephant in the room that you may not know is there, but for them is there. You can finally get that one last chance to answer to that thing and like speak to that. So that's what I do. Those are kind of like some tips that I use and can really help me. But yeah, that's how Kristen approaches that. So if you guys have any questions around like changing industries or bridging the gap that you have from your current resume to like your in quote dream job that you may be looking for, if you do, comment in the comment section. And my hair, oh my god, I can't wait till it dries. It's like hasn't quite reached its peak form. Hi, welcome. Oh, it's so neat to see some of you guys because I know we talk in the comment section a lot. Hey Virgo, you still here? Hi Jackie. Yeah, it's good to see some of you guys. But yeah, I really think the biggest thing is like building your confidence. Honestly, a lot of times there have been roles that I've interviewed for, and at the time I may not have necessarily been the perfect fit, but I prepared. I sat down with people and made them fake interview me. I did practice questions. I sat in the mirror and looked at myself and just did the whole went through the whole interview process. I did the elevator pitch. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it's like when you walk through your resume really quickly and it's almost like you're pitching someone on yourself. And I've done that and just practice. Like that is, I really feel like practice is what builds confidence. And when you do that, you're able to just like naturally flow with people when they ask you questions that may be off-putting or may put you on the spot. And you're able to really be comfortable and confident. So that is how I do it. I hope that it helps you guys a lot for sure. Elizabeth asks, how can you explain not having experience? So like not having experience in a particular area, I think again, it's really just like bridging the gap. So for example, for me, if I was going to apply for a marketing job and I've only had really, really limited experience in marketing. I think I've worked a total of like 8 months in marketing. It's really important, in my opinion, to just explain other things you've done that are very, very similar to what you would have done in marketing, or working in other roles that would give you the same type of output as a marketing role. So for me, I'll just give you an example. In my current job, I don't work in marketing, but I work really, really closely with marketing. And I'm working on a project that works really closely with products. And I have to take on the mindset of the marketing team and understand what's important to them. So while I haven't been directly involved in the actual, marketing of the products, I'm very closely involved with the strategy surrounding those products. So I would just try to find ways to explain how I've gotten similar experience from other things that, would be transferable to the type of job that I'm trying to get into. And you can find examples or just even from your everyday life. I remember when I was trying to get into pharmaceutical sales and I just leveraged this class I taught at a church. And I used to teach this class, and it was like a class for women. And there was a lot of different topics within the class that were covered, but I would talk a lot about that and just kind of leverage that as well. So that was for me how I would try to like bridge the gap. But I think the biggest thing is just finding like things from your background that are similar to whatever it is you're applying for that can be looked at as experience. And then that way you can just kind of answer to that, because at the end of the day, most of the time people will say they want a certain kind of experience, but they're really just, if they feel confident that you can do something and you're able to communicate that you're confident that you can do it, and there's other things that you can use to prop that up that they can sell, then most of the time people are going to feel good about you, And I think that's the biggest thing. And one other thing I was telling the young lady I spoke to this past Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday, is you really have to think about when people are looking at you for a job, their job is to find the best candidate, right? You know, they need to find somebody that they can feel good about, that when they find and they tell other people they found, they can be confident and like bragging about the new hire that they found, because when somebody finds somebody, they want to make sure that they look good. You know, they don't want to look bad, they want to look good. So for you, you just have to find ways to make them look good for finding you. And that's really the biggest thing, because at the end of the day, their job is to find the best candidate. And I wasn't going to talk too much about money, but that was something else we got into, you know, in our conversation Wednesday. I might actually do a video, because we talked a little bit about like when the right time to ask for money, to talk about money. And I definitely think there's a point where it's okay, and I think there's a point where you shouldn't do it. But I may actually do like a video dedicated to that. Have I ever been in the interviewer role? Yes, I have. I've interviewed on a lot of occasions, actually. And I think mainly through like job fairs. Also, I've only had one direct report in my career so far, which I kind of honestly have liked. I've managed more projects than people, but I have had the opportunity to interview people. And I think some no-nos that I've seen people do. Number one, and I guess this kind of goes into the money conversation, but like I said, I'll probably do another video about this. But one thing I think is like a for sure no is in a first interview situation, don't ask about money. Don't talk about money. Don't bring it up. If the interviewer doesn't bring it up, don't you bring it up. And the reason for that is because a lot of times the interviewer doesn't know. They may not know what the range is. They may not know what the offer is going to be or can be. So when you ask that question, you put them on the spot. And it's really uncomfortable. It's really awkward. And it's just one of those things where if you ask that question too premature, it just kind of looks, what's the word I want to use? It just kind of is like a junior move, I think. So I wouldn't talk about money until the interviewer either brings it up or until you receive a formal offer. And then you can have all the dialogue you want to have about money. You can take your time, do all that stuff. But I wouldn't bring money up right away, because you may end up putting people on the spot, especially if it's HR, because typically HR is not going to be the one hiring you. It's going to be the manager of the role. And if you're talking to HR, they may not know what that manager is going to want to be offering you from their budget. So I would just wait until they bring it up or until they actually give you a formal offer for sure. So that's like the one no-no I would say. Also, I think a no-no is not having questions. You know how when people ask you, like, do you have any questions? I think it's a good idea to have a couple, like, stock questions in the back of your head that you can ask, because sometimes it's, like, really, almost makes people look not prepared when they don't have anything to ask. They don't have anything they're curious about. And I just think it's important to be prepared and have something you want to ask, even if it's just, like, a stock question you ask everybody when you interview. Like, for example, one thing I always ask is about the culture. I always ask people, hey, you know, can you tell me a little bit about the culture of your organization? What's it like working where you're at? And how would you just describe how people work together? And that for sure would be something that I think you can ask any company, because every company's culture is going to be different. You know, I think a good question to ask is why the previous person who was in that role left, if they don't just already tell you. Because sometimes that can be a red flag. You know, they may tell you something that you may have to give them the side eye on and have to really think about if you decide you want to take that position or not. So definitely ask that question, or if you don't have any other questions that you want to ask. Something else I typically will ask about, and this is like just comes from researching the job and the company. Whenever I apply for a job, I always look at the last 10K report, and I do a Google search of the company to see, you know, what have they been in the news for recently? Has there been anything controversial that's happened? Have they had something really great happen? And I started asking this question because a long time ago I interviewed with a company called Eli Lilly. And I interviewed with Eli Lilly, and they literally in the interview asked me about something that had recently just broken the news, like that day. It was either like that day or the day before. And I had no clue. So they made me feel pretty uncomfortable for not knowing what had just recently happened. So I've definitely made it a best practice to do a Google search to see what's, you know, recently happened with the company. Have they had any announcements? And that's just helped me. It also kind of helps with some dialogue too, because if you're uncomfortable or you feel like you get put on the spot, you can always just talk about some stuff that's happened recently at the company. And I think in my current job, that was the one thing that really set me apart, is because I had read the whole 10K report. So when I came into the interview, I asked them questions around that 10K report, questions around the strategy of the company and the organization moving forward. And I could for sure tell that they were impressed by that. Like at the company, they had a goal where they wanted to reach a $10 billion revenue, you know, and it was like, that was like the goal. And when I read the 10K report, it was everywhere. So I just asked the question around, you know, how does the organization plan to go from where they were to that $10 billion goal? And it was just amazing, because even in my career at the company, there were different things that they did once I was hired in that was just amazing to see that they literally were making moves to hit that goal, you know. So I would for sure say, like, those are some things that I think you don't want to not do. Like, you want to have your questions. Don't ask about money. Let me think if there's anything else. So this is a little thing, but don't wear loud perfume. Make sure you're dressed the part. There's some cultures that don't, you know, typically wear deodorant, and I think that it's probably important to do that in your interview. Make sure you have a good interview outfit or suit. Always wear a suit too, no matter what you're interviewing for, in my opinion. Unless it's like something that's super, super, super casual. Then you can find like a modification, like business casual. But in my opinion, always wear a suit. Look your best. And for me, I honestly, and this is something I've kind of gone back and forth on, being like a natural hair girl. And you guys know sometimes I wear weaves and stuff, but I typically will try to wear my hair in a pretty conservative style, just something that's like not doing, you know, a lot, but I try to just be pretty conservative just with my whole look overall, because we know people do have unconscious biases that they're dealing with, and I just don't even want any of that to enter into the room if I can do my best to have it not be, which obviously that's not fair as an interviewee, but it's something that you definitely want to think about. So that is how I typically approach it, and those are just kind of some food for thought from my perspective. But do you guys have any other questions? Anything else that... Hi, Victoria. What about makeup? I don't think makeup is a must at all. Most people at my company, especially the women in leadership, most of them don't wear makeup, or it's very minimal. I think at the end of the day, if you're communicating in a good way and you're a strong candidate, they're not going to care. Most of the time, unfortunately, you probably are going to be interviewing with men anyway, because, you know, you see a lot of men in these leadership roles who are going to be hiring people in. I don't think men really care. So I would say, unless you're interviewing with a makeup company, I wouldn't worry about it at all. You know, do what makes you feel the most comfortable and confident. Like, I wouldn't want you to beat your face and have all this makeup on, and that's not what you're used to doing, because it may make you actually not feel as confident as you normally would. And if you do wear makeup like I do, I probably wouldn't come in there with this look with the green and like my lashes that I'm gonna end up putting on today, just because I would want to be more conservative. So I probably wouldn't even put on, you know, eyeshadow. I'd probably just be real simple, very, very conservative, just, you know, look my most comfortable and confident, for sure. Do I see a lot of women in project management roles? Well, so, okay. I guess the first question, do I see a lot of women in general in leadership roles, or roles like from my level and up? And I would probably say not really. There's probably about 40, 60. And then in terms of project management, I would probably say yes, and at least at my company. And even from like the consulting firms we deal with, it's probably still like 60-40, but I definitely would say yeah. On my team, we've got about, I think there's like 7 of us, and it's 2 females, so myself and one other girl. And then there was another girl who was on our team, but she actually just took another role. So I definitely think there's women for sure in project management. Do I see a lot? I don't know if I'd say a lot, but I would say it's probably pretty similar to like leadership roles for sure. Yeah, Michelle, I agree with that. Just be presentable. Let's see. Ash says that's one thing she needs to do for sure. Find questions for the end of the interview. Had a panel interview for candidates and the new supervisor. They both asked questions at the end. Yes, questions are good. What are my tips for curvy women for clothing for interviews? I would probably say, for me, I typically will try to wear things that minimize my curves. So if I'm going to wear a dress, I'm going to have a jacket that covers up my butt, covers up everything, and I'm going to make sure I have a higher shirt on so there's no cleavage. Like, I want to just be where there's no attention on my physical appearance. It's all about what I'm communicating in terms of me being a candidate for sure. So that would be how I would dress. And for me, like, especially if you have a butt, I would just say cover your butt. It's probably better to cover your butt because, like, I don't know. I don't really like to show any curves at work. I like to be just very, straight and, very, very conservative. So I would probably say cover up just because, at least for me, it makes me feel most comfortable. Yeah, let's see. What about more experience than degree level? I think it goes both ways, and it also kind of depends on the company. Some companies favor degrees, other companies favor experience, and then sometimes it's kind of like it just depends on which one you have. So I think, if you don't want to pursue the degree level or getting an additional degree, I would definitely say make sure you're really focusing on enhancing and growing your experience for the roles that you're going to be looking at in the future. And one thing I was actually sharing with a young lady I spoke with on Wednesday is, like, how we talked about just bridging the gap between, like, the job you're applying for if your resume isn't a perfect fit. You can do that same strategy for roles that, like, are your stretch roles or your dream roles. Like, for me, if I said, I want to be a vice president, I'm going to want to look and see, okay, what are the things you typically see on that job description? And if okay, I don't have a degree and that's something they say is preferred, you're just going to want to supplement the other areas and just be stronger in the other experience that they typically look for. And you can pull different job descriptions from multiple companies because you're going to see, like, a theme between those job descriptions, and that'll help you with just figuring out how to tailor your experience and what to focus on so that you can, like, bridge that gap to be able to not worry about having that additional degree or getting your degree and still qualify for jobs that you really are going to want. So that would be, like, I think my tip in terms of, like, just balancing the trade-off between going for an additional degree and or experience. And for me, when I was working in pharmaceutical sales, I had a job that I wanted. I wanted to be in-house in corporate, and I knew to do that I was going to have to try to build out my resume. And I just was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get my MBA because it's, like, the shortcut way to do it. Takes me, 18, 16 months, and then I'm done. I think it might have been 21 months. I think it was 21 months. And I was done. So I was just like, that's the way I'm going to go. But, you just have to balance it out and just figure out for yourself what path you want to take and just understand what each path is going to require. Keisha said, I want to get into project management. Any tips on how to get into it? Currently working on PMP certification. Oh, that's awesome. Honestly, I think the certification is, like, the first big plus. And then again, I would just leverage the tips I've already given around just looking at your resume versus job description and, like, bridging the gap. Because typically you're going to see similar themes in PMP job descriptions, and I would for sure just find ways to demonstrate that you have the experience that they're saying they're looking for. Even if you haven't managed bigger projects or certain projects, you probably managed something. Like, I could even, let's just say I needed to talk about YouTube as a project, and just demonstrate how I've, been successful managing this as a project. Or if you go to church and you're involved in different programs at church, that could be a project. It has a specific start and end date. Hey, be careful, Adrian. And it can be explained in a similar fashion. So just find ways to be able to communicate that you've done that, even if it's not the way that, would just naturally jump in your head when you first saw that thing. Let me see. Can you do certifications instead of degrees? Definitely. Especially it's funny because I ended up going into project management. I didn't choose it like that. It kind of landed in my lap. And I've been doing that for the last few years. And I had no clue about it when I got my MBA. And there's a lot of people who do project management, have for years, and are working on some really amazing programs and projects and different things. So you definitely can. There's some certifications that a degree is for sure helpful. I'm trying to think of what the finance one, because one of my friends she's an accountant, and she got, what's the account? Does anybody know what the certification for accountants is? I can't think of it right now off the top of my head, but she did that. But for her, having her degree is definitely still helpful, because a lot of times for those jobs, they're going to be looking for that too. So I think it just depends. And I think if I could leave you guys with any like one takeaway for yourself, is if there's jobs you would be interested in, look at a bunch of companies, print job descriptions of multiple jobs from different companies that are the same type of job, and get familiar with the themes. And those are the things you're going to want to work on, and you literally have your resume, and if you see gaps, that's what you need to work on, is just bridging the gap between where you are today and where you want to be. Let's see. Ash said, I've always heard people say your resume shouldn't exceed 2 pages, but as of lately I've heard people say 1 page. So the rule of thumb I've always been told is it's 1 page for every 10 years. And if you can make it 1 page and not go on to the 2, like I have more than 10 years experience, but I kind of like the 1 page, because I know when I get resumes myself, if it's too long, I might not look at both pages. So, the more you have, the more likely it's going to end up being skimmed. So I think it's in your benefit to make your resume as short as possible without losing, anything that you need and that is important to convey the right message. But if you need 2 pages because you've got a lot of years of experience, let's say you have 20 years of experience and you've had multiple progressive roles, you're going to want to have both those pages. But if you've only been working for 5 years and you got a 2-page resume, you probably want to condense that resume down some, for sure, especially given the type of jobs you would potentially be applying for. And I'm assuming you wouldn't have like more than 3 jobs, then I would definitely say try to keep it down to 1 page if you can. But that was a really good question, because I see a lot of people especially when I go to job fairs, they come up and they have like 2 years experience and it's like a 2-page resume with a whole bunch of verbiage, and you're just like really? So that is the rule of thumb that I was taught, but there may be some variations to that for sure. Oh, yes, CPA. Thank you, guys. Yeah, CPA certification. Thank you. All right, let's see. Should career paths be highly stressed out? What if you're 19, you don't know what to do in life? I think that's okay. It's funny because for me, I had no clue. Like, I kind of knew I wanted eventually to end up in marketing, and I followed a path to kind of go that way. But over time, it's evolved. I did pharmaceutical sales. I went back to school to get my MBA. I've worked in, radio sales. And it's just evolved. So I think as long as you're always consistently thinking about the next thing, that's good. But just right now, focus on like the first step. You don't have to see the whole path. You just need to see the first stair. You know how they say, like, you don't have to see the top of the staircase. You just got to see that first stair. And I think sometimes we overwhelm ourselves with like, how do I get to the end? But the biggest thing is like having the end game, the end goal, and then starting somewhere. So don't let it stress you out though. Let it be fun, because life is too short. Life is way too short to be stressed out and to be letting stuff weigh on you, especially a lot of times the things you can't control anyway. Let's see. Ebony, you said you want to get your PMP, but it requires you to have project management experience. Yes, but they do have, and I cannot remember the name of the certification you can get before PMP. But I would say look into that, because there's other opportunities for people who don't have the, required hours for your project management certification. Yeah, like don't let that deter you for sure, because everybody's got to start somewhere. Do I have any advice on how to create a cover letter? I don't think they're necessary. I think they can be helpful. But for me, I would say if you don't have one, or you really aren't like strong in creating your cover letter, I would find either a school, like your local school, see if somebody there would help you. But find someone who can help you get like your first one created. And then from there, just tweak it. Like you can tweak it and modify it for jobs that pop up or roles that you see. And I would definitely say like have somebody who is strong in cover letters help you. I was lucky. My mom, she actually went to school for journalism, and she works for a representative in the House of Representatives. So she does a lot of writing. So a lot of times I send stuff to my mom. But I would just say find somebody who's a strong writer that can help you get that first cover letter, and then from there you can just modify it and tweak it, and then always have somebody proofread it before you send it off to anybody. Let's see. Um, oh, thank you for answering that question around degrees for finance, accountants. Let's see. Thank you guys. You said you have one job tell you move around too much. Estimate on time to stay with the job role before you move on or up. Um, Me personally, I would probably say a minimum of 2 years, just because I want to make sure I'm like getting everything I can out of that experience so that I can put it on my resume. And sometimes if you do see people who've got really short tenures on their resume, it will kind of make you look and be like, okay, are they gonna, if they come here, leave us really quick too? But I think as long as you have a really good story, you can always come up with a good story, you know, and if you have a good story to explain the why, then hopefully that would help some. But for me, I think 2 years is probably what I would do at a minimum. However, the generation that's younger than me, hey baby, can you turn that down, please? Can y'all turn that down for mommy? Thank you. They love watching that Roblox, so they've turned on Roblox, I think, and it's so loud. But anyway, but this generation that's a little bit younger than me actually does more moving around than my generation, and I think in corporate most people are familiar with that. So I don't think it's like, in my opinion, and people may disagree, I don't think it's a horrible thing, but definitely have like a reason why. Like make sure there's always a really good reason, you know what I mean? Oh, thank you, Lisa. Thanks for telling that. It's CAPM, CAPM, and that's the entry level certification. That's helpful. Thank you. Okay, what is an MPA? I'm not familiar with that. Yeah, just let me know and then I'll try to answer that question. Hi. Okay, I have to ask you guys a question though while I have you here. So I've been like, and you guys know this because I've talked about this before, but in terms of my content here on YouTube, I've been doing this schedule where on Sundays I do hauls because for me, I think they're fun. And then I've been doing cooking on Wednesday. And now I'm incorporating more professional topics. I want to do those once a week. And then anything additional that I do will just be like random. So I was curious, do you guys like that idea? I also have my vlog channel. That's where I'll have like my vlogs, and that'll just be more like day in the life because vlogs are fun. And I actually have been really trying to have some fun with doing vlogs and trying to like, um, you know, be creative, be more creative because there's this YouTuber who I always talk about. His name is As Said By Me, and I just love his content. And he inspires me so much to want to just tell stories and tell things that will be thought-provoking for my viewers and to just kind of like, you know, encourage you guys in different ways. And it's interesting because I recently was looking at some statistics around African Americans, and the statistics were kind of daunting. It was talking about income level, was talking about the percentage of African Americans in jail who actually recently, that number, that percentage has risen for us. And I just was like blown away. And it was just interesting because I don't know, it spoke to me. And I've posted a couple times on Instagram about how as influencers, like a lot of people want to say, oh, I'm an influencer, you know, for fashion or other things. And I don't know, I just started really thinking, like, what am I influencing? Like, and I want it to be a positive thing. And a quote that we actually have at work that's on the walls in certain areas is be the change you want to see in this world. So for my channel, I really want to just start focusing on that a little bit more. I just figured I have a really amazing, you know, network of people, and I call you guys K-stars for a reason, and that's because I really want you guys to think of yourself as stars, because I know there were times in my life where I didn't feel as confident around the fact that I was like a star, you know? So that's why I call you guys K-stars, and that's just important to me. And I just really want, to be like one positive influence, one person that you guys can look at here on YouTube that isn't just focused on things that are just not really value add to your life and might actually be negative, because if I'm only talking about things that you can spend your money on and not ever really talking about things that can help put into you, I just feel like I'm doing a disservice to you and to myself at the same time. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. Also, because I've been changing that, I know my channel is going to take a hit, and it's definitely going to probably like have a negative downturn as I start to turn my channel a little bit, because there's going to be people who just aren't as attracted to the more thought-provoking content. So I know it's going to take a little bit of time for us to like go through this transition, but I really want to start doing more, because I figured I see the statistics, and if I can be one person who is trying to positively influence people that are like me, who have gone through similar things that I've gone through, then I'm doing my part, and I can feel really good about the influence that I'm having. So that's kind of where things are focused for me right now in terms of my channel. And I'm going to keep doing it like that. I'm going to have, like I said, the Sundays are going to be more fun videos. It'll be more either fashion or some sort of like girly topic or clothes or something like that. Again, Wednesdays there's going to be some sort of recipe cooking video, because those for me are just fun, and I feel like it's neat to try. It like pushes me to try new recipes and to try to like push myself when it comes to cooking. So I'm enjoying those a lot. And we're going to be incorporating the third topic, which will basically be the more thought-provoking career, finance, even just like self-improvement type things. Like there's one video I'm working on right now about waking up earlier, which I think is important, and I think it adds value to me when I wake up earlier. So I want to talk about that on my channel. So stuff like that. So if you guys can just really quickly let me know what you think. Like, do you feel like that's a good mix? Like you'd be interested in that? Because what I don't want to do is be like so focused on what I think I want to do, and that's not what you guys want. I don't want to miss from that perspective either, but I really feel like I get so many emails, so many questions, and for some reason, a lot of people have felt comfortable asking me things, and it's a blessing, because I want to make sure I'm helping where I can. But with that being said, if you guys just let me know what you want to see, I will do my best to make it happen, and hopefully that little schedule will be a good fit for us. And I think I'm going to end up going back to Mondays for the like more thought-provoking content. I don't know what I'm going to call it. I may just end up calling it Mentorship Mondays again. But the word mentorship, to me, it just almost feels like I'm assuming I have the answer. And I kind of want it to be more like dialogue, thought-provoking. So y'all just let me know. And also, too, if you're still here, will you please hit the thumbs up button on this video? So show your girl a little support, because you all know I appreciate you for supporting me. But that would be really awesome. Let's see. Can I explain why I changed to a completely different career path without saying I hated my last job? Yeah, definitely. I don't think I've ever had a job I totally hated. I actually changed my career path because I wanted more responsibility, more opportunity to influence the organization that I was in. I wanted to be, in my previous job, so when I was in pharmaceutical sales, our job was to execute the strategy. So people in corporate would come up with what was going to happen. My job was to go do what they said. And I actually wanted to now be someone that was a part of the strategy, a part of telling everybody else what to do. So that's why I decided to change my career, or my last job. So that is kind of, I guess, what's led me to where I am today. And it for sure definitely wasn't because I hated my job, because pharmaceutical sales was really cool. It was very flexible, fun. You get to go to like really cool like sales meetings and meet people and be in the car all day. Like it was a lot of fun from that perspective. But I wanted to be creating the strategy, to sit with leadership, and it's kind of dope in my current job. I get to sit with the vice presidents like every day. I've met, and our previous CEO, I actually used to work with him a lot, and most people at my level don't get to interact with people that senior. So I wanted to position myself to be able to sit in those meetings and be able to add value. And that was always like my main focus, is I want to add value. You know, and I think when you can add value, you can, you almost become like hard to be replaced. So that was always been like my main focus, and what's always driven me to want the next thing. And if you guys haven't picked up on it, I'm a very driven person. So I'm always doing, you rarely will catch me sitting around. I don't think I really ever sit around unless I'm like about to go to sleep. So yeah, like it's crazy. Do I have a mentor? I probably have some informal mentors. I used to like meet with certain people a lot that are in really leadership roles. As of right now though, I probably don't think I have anybody that's like, that I've said like, will you be my mentor? And we have like set times. But I definitely have people that I think are like, they don't know that I look at them as like a mentor, but I for sure interact with them a lot in that capacity. And it's actually kind of crazy, like in my current role, because of what I do and because of who my boss is, I do get to interact with a lot of the senior leaders, and sometimes they come to me and ask me for advice. So that has been interesting to just see the transition. I feel like I need a mentor on YouTube though, because I'm still trying to figure it out, you know, but in terms of my like corporate life, I think I have people that I go to for certain things and to get some perspective on. But right now I don't really have like a formal mentor. You can't be on here. You can't be on the video, boo. Hold on, y'all. 1 second. Tell Adrian I said to share. Sorry, y'all. You know I don't really put them on here. Don't come in the camera. 1 second. Please stand by. Hey guys, just finish that show and then we're going to end up going to get the tree. We said we were going to get a Christmas tree today, and I don't know. They like chilling on the weekends. So we'll see if that happens. But they've been fighting over this Roblox, like, oh my goodness. I saw this video. This is totally off subject, but I saw this video of what is it? Chucky. You guys remember Chucky from like way back in the day? That Chucky doll. And it was when Chucky attacked the lady, and they were saying that's when you turn off YouTube and your kids like attack you. I'm like, yeah, that's how I feel sometimes. But anyway, thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, they are so funny. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. I'm just going back through some of these comments. Oh, Master of Public Administration. So you asked earlier, what's the different or pros and cons of both? The difference between Master of Public Administration versus MBA. I honestly think it's just how you're going to use the degree. If I was going to be going into a role that was like a public administration role, I would definitely want to pursue that route. Whereas MBA is for sure going to be more business focused, and it'd be like trying to work more in like corporate roles. So for me, that's why I went the MBA route. And apologies if y'all hear little dog fingernails, they're playing right now. But so I think it's really just a matter of like what is it you want to do, and then that would kind of help you decide what the best route and like the pros and the cons. But again, it kind of also goes back to like earlier when I was talking about having your resume versus the job description and thinking about like what's needed. If you're looking at roles that are like your dream job and they typically are going to want the Masters of Public Administration, then I for sure would want to go that route. Or if you feel like having an MBA could be leveraged in that particular, industry or role, then I would look at that as well. Yeah. Oh, you're so welcome. Oh, thank you so much. Sim said, I really love your self-improvement and self-empowerment videos. Career, finance, family, cooking content has played a huge role in my life. I found them powerful and valuable. You know, it's funny when I do those cooking videos, nothing makes me more happy than when people come back and they say they tried the recipe. I think this past Wednesday, I did that manicotti, and I was talking to a girl who she ended up actually making it that night, and she said she really liked it, and I'm telling you, like, that made me feel so good. Like, I don't care how many views my videos get. When you guys come back and you tell me that something, you know, impacted your life positively, it makes me just feel like so fulfilled and so happy. So I love it. And it's kind of fun because it feels like almost like my way of connecting with you guys, because it's, you know, when we do this, YouTube is so one-sided. I don't know what you got. Like, I can't see you. I can't have a real conversation with you. So, you know, it's just like, for me, that's like the way that I really feel just fulfilled by this experience. So I love it. Should you include all jobs on a resume? Not necessarily. For me, unless you have big gaps, I don't think putting everything on your resume is necessary at all. Like, especially if you feel like the jobs that are on there aren't going to really add value to the job that you're applying for. So that's pretty much how I approach it. Yeah. I don't understand the question around the modern resume. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Yeah. Hi. Adris, will you do me a favor and let Crixus outside? He just rang the bell. Oh my goodness, I know. See, I'm gonna have to give my kids some special attention. So I guess we're almost at 60 minutes, and I got kids over here that are definitely showing that they want some special attention. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna spend some time with them now and see if they want to go get a Christmas tree. Because I want to have my tree up by the time my family comes this week. Because I just think that would be so nice, and it'll just like add to the ambiance of Thanksgiving.
It isn't over yet.
Oh my goodness. So with that, I'm going to actually get up out of here. But if you guys want more lives like this, for sure let me know. Comment, as well as please hit the like button, because I'm able to kind of tell. There's a percentage of likes versus dislikes, and based on that percentage is how I decide if I'm going to do certain content again. So if you do want to see more lives, more frequent lives on these type of topics, definitely hit the like button, because that really is going to help me understand what you guys want to see. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I appreciate you guys so much for jumping on this live. I'm going to go try to dry my hair out a little bit and get these boys going, because they're starting to get irritated. So we can't have that. But I hope you guys all have a great weekend, and I guess I'll see you tomorrow. I'll have a video tomorrow like normal. So y'all have a good weekend. Bye.